everybody, this is Mrs. Anderson. We're back with Master Math Mentor Notes, Section 3, and we are in the classwork examples. So now that you've seen the basics, we're going to do a couple practices and then jump on our way. Alright, so I'm not going to work the easiest, but nor am I going to work the hardest either. I kind of want a nice in-between, so you kind of get some ideas, but we'll be okay. For my pen writers, please pick black or blue. I'm using friction pens most of the time, but today I'm going to be using just a regular ink pen. Anytime that you mark out something, you must mark it out with an X, no erasing. It wastes time, it messes up your paper, and there could be some good work in there we may need to look back at. So, for the function f of x equals 5x plus 2, find the following and confirm on your calculator. Usually I kind of skip this part, so we'll just kind of see how it goes. So the average rate of change between x equals -1 and x equals 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write x equals -1. So when this goes in, I have 5 times -1 plus 2. -5 plus 2 is -3. And x equals 4. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22. All right. So going up now to the formula at the top, this is what we're going to be using. I recommend you have it memorized, but you don't always need to be writing it perfectly down, especially on the AP test. Sometimes it wastes time. But for this beginning, I am going to do it nicely. So I say secant f of 4 minus f of -1 over 4 minus a -1. This is going to give me 22 minus a -3. 4 minus a -1 becomes 5. So 25 over 5 equals 5. Okay? Instantaneous rate of change at x equals 2. So now we are using this big fancy formula up here. So this one is going to look a little bit different and can be kind of a pain, but you're learning the basics and then we get actually a little bit easier. So I'm going to start with this. Instantaneous means tangent. So f of 2 plus h minus f of 2 over h. Okay, so I'm going to plug 2 plus h in, so I have 5, 2 plus h plus 2, minus, and remember I need a bracket there, okay, because that bracket, I have to transfer that negative all the way through, so don't get really excited and miss that. 2 going in is going to be 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is 12, all over h. So 10 plus 5h plus 2 minus 12 over h. 12 minus 12 is 0, so I have 5h on top, h on the bottom, which gives me 5. And they're the same thing. Pretty cool. The equation of the tangent line at x equals 2. So now we're going back to just a point slope equation. So I'm going to plug in 2, so f of 2 is going to be 12. So I'm going to have y minus 12 is 5 times x minus 2. They're not asking me to do it in point slope form or anything like that, so this is actually perfectly good right here. This is going to be what we call a safe stop. If we make an algebra mistake on the AP test, they will take away points. They will not give us a point. So we want to not do as much work as possible sometimes, okay? Sometimes it's good to just stop right there. All right, let's do another one. So I'm going to flip it over to the back, and you'll see this one this time has an x cubed minus x squared plus 1. And this one, of course, gets a little bit hairier with the x cubes. So maybe I want to make it a little bit easier for myself. because I'd rather you just sit there and do the numbers, but we will have to know algebra too. So I'm going to plug in an f of -1 right here. So I'm going to have -1 minus a +1 plus 1, -2 plus 1 equals -1. So I'm going to have a -1 and a -1. I have f of 1. So I will have 1 minus 1 plus 1 is 1. So those are going to be my 2 points I'm going to use. Kind of just doing it above helps out a little bit. So m secant, again, that's for average. I'm going to take my points. I'm going to box my y's. These are the y values I'm using. And I'm going to start down here. 1 minus -1 over 1 minus a -1. So I'm going to get 2 over 2, which is 1. Again, I showed a little bit different work this time. This, again, acceptable. Remember, you can never do less than me. So if you're like, hey, I found a shortcut, I'm probably not giving you credit for it, so don't press your luck on it. Instantaneous rate of change. I'm going to write this guy down because he's kind of scary looking, right? So I have f of 1 plus h minus f of 1, that's the easy part, over h. Now this looks really scary, so let's not get too scared right away. And we may find a way to simplify it. So I have 1 plus h cubed minus 1 plus h squared plus 1 minus the value of that 1 is 1 all over h. Now the nice thing right here is I can see that my 1's crossed out, so that's happy news. Now don't multiply this out. Let's go back to GCF. How about we take out 1 plus h squared, so we get 1 plus h here minus 1 there over h. Well, now my 1's are crossing out. So I'm going to have 1 plus h squared times h over h. Remember, h's cannot cross out when there's a plus or minus attached, but when there's a multiplication sign outside, you may. That's gone. And so I have 1 plus h squared. Now, what is h getting closer to? H keeps getting closer to 0. Right? So h is approaching 0. Super, 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 super tiny. So if that becomes 0, well, then that's just 1. So now I can use that. Again, you see they're the same slope. Up here, y minus the 1 equals 1 times x minus 1. If I wanted to this time, I could multiply it out. Y equals x minus 1, moving him over as a plus 1, and y equals x. Do you remember what this is? This is our parent function of a line. Remember, it's also a direct variation because it goes through 0, 0. Okay, so now here's a really challenging one. And again, this is in here just so that you kind of have really some different ones to pick from, okay, of scary levels. We have our basic ones, and then we have our little bit harder ones. So obviously this one we don't like because, ew, it's a fraction. It makes us sad, but we still have to love our fractions, okay? So I'm going to do secant. So I keep remembering that goes with the word average. F of 4 minus f of 1 over 4 minus 1. Okay, if I plug in a 4, I'm going to have 2/5. If I plug in a 1, I have 1 over 3. Now that looks really terrible, and actually that is considered a safe stop. Okay, on an open-ended problem on the AP test, you can leave it right there. However, those start getting kind of weird to look at. So remember a 1, if that's a 5, why don't I just make that 5 over 5? So I have negative 3/5 over 3, which becomes negative 3/5 divide by a fraction is multiplied by the reciprocal. I get negative 1 over 5. Okay, so that's my first slope. And hopefully, I know this is a lot, hopefully we're kind of remembering all our algebra. The instantaneous rate of change at x equals 2. All right, so we have, again, tangent, and we're going to have f of 2 plus h, and then minus f of 2 over h. Okay, so this becomes 2 over 2 plus h plus 1. And I tend to want to forget the rest of that equation, so be super careful down there. Minus f of 2 becomes 2/3 over h. So I have 2 over 3 plus h minus 2/3 over h. So what am I going to do to kind of clean up this mess? So I need to I'm going to combine this on top. Okay, so we did this back in pre-cal and some algebra 2. My common denominator is going to be 3 and 3 plus h. Okay, and I'm covering him up because I just don't need to deal with him right now. So I'm going to multiply this at top. All he needs is this 3 because he already has the 3 plus h, so that's going to be 6. And then I have 3 and 3 plus h on the bottom over h. And this guy needs the 3 plus h, so he is minus 6 minus 2h. Okay, these guys cross out. Negative 2h over 3 times 3 plus 3h. And dividing by a fraction means multiply by the reciprocal. So that guy goes away. Now remember, we're trying to find when h becomes super tiny. So h is approaching 0. Well, if I put 0 in here, I get just 3. And 3 times 3 is 9. So I now have negative 2/9. Okay. So when I plug all this in, I'm going to have y minus 2/3 equals negative 2 over 9, x minus 2. This is a safe stop. I can stop here, but honestly, I may need to do more. So I'm going to multiply by the lowest common denominator, and in this case, it's going to be 9. So I have 9y, 18 divided by 3 is 6, negative 2, x minus 2. You do not get to double dip and go into the parentheses. We are just hitting the individual terms not in parentheses. 9y minus 6 equals negative 2x plus 4. That'll become a 10. So I have negative 2/9 x plus 10 over 9. And I'm done. All right, now if I was trying to check all this on the calculator, and I'm actually going to use a calculator I seem to do a little bit better with and quicker. I know our videos keep getting longer and longer. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to hit y equals, and I'm going to do 2 divided by x plus 1, like that, and I'm going to hit graph. And you can see I kind of have some stuff going on here, so let me take off my stat plot. All right, and some of you may be wondering, well, wait, hey, why do I have this line here? Remember, this is an asymptote because at -1, that bottom becomes 0. So now I'm going to graph this line on top of it. And I'm going to put in, I'll just put in this whole thing. So I have negative 2x and sorry, I'm going to back up and do parentheses negative 2x plus 10 divide by 9. And I'm going to hit graph. And let's zoom in, and we'll do zoom in, and let's move it right about here. So there's our 2. And sure enough, we have it. And if you go to our table, we should hopefully find that at 2, we've hit it. Very cool, and that's how you confirm by the calculator. All right, so best of luck as you are doing these problems.